Well, Josh, we're here today to talk about John Waters' classic family film, Pink Flamingos.
It's, it is a movie about family.
Ultimately, it's a movie about family.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
This is John Waters' 1972 film, not his first film, not his best film, but his most noteworthy.
It's really important. It's
what Citizen Kane is to Orson Welles, Pink Flamingos is to John Waters.
Yeah.
It's more shocking than the movie is the idea that he made it under the mindset that this would be the movie that would make his career. And even more shocking than that is that it worked.
It's true.
If you like John Waters' episode of The Simpsons, it's the result of Pink Flamingos. If you liked his cameo in one of the Chipmunk sequels, it's the result of Pink Flamingos.
Well, actually, I recently flew next to the Chipettes, and they were ladies.
Hey, don't judge me. I saw Pink Flamingos.
If you liked the Broadway musical Hairspray, it's because Pink Flamingos happened first.
Yes, yes.
What I would say about it overall, just before we get into like any of the plot or anything like that, is that it's definitely not for everyone.
Yes.
Far from it. It's
intentionally made to turn people off.
Yes.
That's the point of the movie.
Yeah, it's a pointedly angry, transgressive movie.
I'll make it special today. I promise.
Please be careful not to touch me. Please be careful.
I ain't touching you. I ain't touching you.
It's meant to shock you.
It's the punk rock mentality before punk rock existed.
Yeah, just a bunch of angry misfits made this wonderful, terrible movie. It's everything.
It's hard to even call it terrible.
It's not.
Like, I mean, if you haven't seen it, we're obviously going to show clips from it, and you'll be like, this looks like something that should be on Best of the Worst.
I don't give a fuck what you said, you fucking pig. Get this body out of here. It's making me sick. When are they going to get another one? What poor girl will they get next? I know they're going to get another one. Just like when I came here, I replaced somebody, didn't I? You fucking little dingleberry.
But there's so much more going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's a movie that benefits if you go in with a little bit of context.
I think so, yeah.
If you've never seen it before and you just watch it, you'll be like, these people are lunatics. I mean, it looks like a documentary. If you don't know the backstories of John Waters or any of the actors in it, you would think that it's made by legitimate lunatics.
That's fair, and I think that's intentional.
Oh, this is where they mate crackers. Right here on this very bed is where they touch their uninspired little organs together, vainly trying to recharge their worn-out battery of filthiness.
I certainly had heard about it before I saw it, because it was kind of already, it was one of the first midnight movies.
Well, that's where I had heard about it. There's a book called Midnight Movies.
Oh, that's right.
That I picked up when I was junior high, I think, and that's how I heard about Eraserhead and The Holy Mountain and Pink Flamingos. There's a chapter on like each of those, all the big midnight movies from the 70s, from that era, and kind of their place in the history of that world.
I think John Waters has got his finger on the pulse of America. I think he's got his thumb securely up America's ass.
For me, I saw Pink Flamingos for the first time shortly after I saw Clerks. And those two movies were very, very important to me because this was at a point when I was like 13, 14 years old. And I was starting to kind of get into film more seriously. Like I'd been making, backyard movies and stuff since I was a little kid. But then Clerks taught me a very important lesson, which is that, anyone can make a movie. And then I saw Pink Flamingos, and that taught me an even more valuable lesson, which is that anyone can make a movie about anything.
Yeah. It's that weird complete 180 of the Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland. Hey kids, let's put on a show. Like
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
We're gonna make a fucking movie.
But it's made by a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, with no money. And
a goal, a purpose, a very specific purpose, which was to shock people, and also to kind of gain some sort of fame or notoriety from the process of shocking people.
Yeah, I would figure more towards the notoriety scale.
Yeah, well it's the John Waters clan, the Dreamlanders as they're called, are sort of like, they built this persona for themselves, which was sort of like a parody of kind of the Andy Warhol factory kind of crowd of artists that all work together and live together, and like, but those are squares compared to the Dreamlanders, the Andy Warhol gang.
But and very much like it's a family. Like they're the people that in that movie that worked on that movie that work with John Waters to this day.
And that's the crazy thing is the movie was shot in Baltimore, or if you're from Baltimore, as you call it, Baltimore.
Located in the teeming metropolis known as downtown Balmer.
Balmer.
Balmer?
Balmer.
You got it? Am I too?
You got to really. Yeah.
Saying it too much.
Downtown Balmer.
But yeah, I mean, Pat Moran is casting director, and Vince Peranio is set designer. Like
Van Smith.
Van Smith, who did makeup. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the ugly expert, he calls Van Smith.
That's right.
But all those people, starting with his earliest movies, Multiple Maniacs, Pink Flamingos, all the way up to, you know, bigger movies like Hairspray or studio films like Crybaby.
Yep.
It's interesting because he's one of the most interesting filmmakers. He's one of my favorite filmmakers.
Yeah.
But he's also never made a movie that I would consider to be one of my favorites. He's just made consistently interesting movies.
I would put Serial Mom up there. I think.
Okay.
The police are tracing this call this very minute.
Well, Dottie Hinkle, then why aren't they here, huh? Fuckface, fuck you!
But that's the one where I feel like all of the elements of what he could do with a studio budget and the story.
Yeah.
It's one of the better stories that he's done.
Yes.
And where that all works together, and Kathleen Turner is just
she's
amazing.
Fantastic. Well, we'll talk a little bit about his actors as we go along, but you mentioned story, and we should mention the story of Pink Flamingos, which is basically the same story as every John Waters movie, which is there's two groups of people that are feuding, and one is kind of very like open and honest about who they are and sort of embracing their eccentricities and their individuality, and then the other group that are sort of either oppressive or kind of close-minded assholes.
Assholes.
It's happy people versus assholes. That's every John Waters movie.
That's true.
And this one has the one line that sums up his whole career.
I guess there's just two kinds of people, Miss Sandstone. My kind of people and assholes. It's rather obvious which category you fit into.
The irony being that she's the asshole, but...
But of course the assholes don't think they're assholes.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, the movie is Divine lives in a trailer with her son Crackers and her traveling companion Cotton and her grandmother, or no, her mother.
It's 10:30. Babs, why isn't the Eggman here? I'm starving to death for some eggs.
Edie the Egg Lady, who is an elderly woman that just wears underwear and sits in a playpen and just wants to eat eggs.
Oh, she loves those eggs.
See, I wish I was excited about anything as much as Edith Massey is about those eggs.
What do you mean Humpty Dumpty was an egg? How could a person be an egg, Cotton? How could a person be an egg?
Well, he had little legs and little arms, and he could walk and talk and all, just like a person. Only he was an egg, a little egg, all dressed up.
So that's their clan, and Divine is known as the filthiest person alive. All the tabloids call her that. And
this competition.
Yeah, and then
apparently a sanctioned competition of some sort.
I don't know who determines it. I don't know who decided it, but she is the filthiest person alive, Divine. And that brings about, on the other end of town, coincidentally in Baltimore, are two jealous perverts.
Well, we feel this to be an untrue statement. We feel that Raymond and I far surpass her in every aspect of the term filth.
The Marbles, yes. Connie and Raymond Marble, who want to be the filthiest people alive.
I think they're doing a pretty good job.
As you know, we run a baby ring. Oh, it's really a very simple process. We keep two girls at all times who are impregnated by Channing, our rather fertile servant. We sell the babies to lesbian couples, and then we invest the money in various businesses around town.
We own a few pornography shops, plus we front money to a chain of heroin pushers in the inner city elementary schools.
Well, this is a little muddled, actually. And we're talking about a movie with, like, whistling assholes, so we shouldn't take the plot too seriously. But
it's fair.
But it's a little muddled in that. I think it would work better if Divine, because Divine is very boastful about the fact that she's the filthiest person alive.
Do you believe in God?
I am God.
You are God.
You are God.
It would almost work better if she was just she just was. She was just herself, and it wasn't like she was trying to be that. She just was, because that's her personality. And then you have the two jealous perverts that are the ones that are trying hard to be that, you know?
It's not so much that she's boastful. I don't think Divine is boastful so much as just proud of who she is. And that she's been given this title to, you know, she's been, like, she takes it as a point of pride, I think. Yeah. Whereas I think probably the Marbles, what their ultimate downfall is that they're obsessed with, like, being the filthiest people alive takes over their entire lives.
Yeah.
Everything else
it's about, in their mind, it's about, like, stature.
Yes.
And Divine does not have any motivation to be the filthiest person alive. It's just who she is.
Exactly, and that's why it's such a one-way thing where the Marbles are always attacking Divine and her family.
Yeah.
They were just fine sitting out in the cold trailer in the middle of nowhere with their buddies.
The very cold trailer.
Oh, God. It wasn't until this most recent rewatch that I noticed so closely, like watching the scenes with Edie and like you can see their breath so clearly. Yeah. It's just like...
Well, you can see, I also noticed this in the most recent watch, which I didn't before. There's one scene where not only do you see Edith Massey's breath, but you see her like lips, her teeth chattering.
Yeah.
100 eggs a day? You mean I can eat 100 eggs?
1,000 if you want them.
And that just shows like the amount of respect that these people have for John Waters, that they're willing to do, you know, this awful hard stuff to make a movie.
Yeah,
because they just love working with him so much, and they want to help achieve this vision. Well, let's talk about the actors.
Okay, yeah.
Because John Waters, like most of these actors, I would not call by any sort of traditional sense of what acting is, I would not call them good. What they are the perfect people to deliver John Waters dialogue.
Yes.
Specifically Mink Stoll and Edith Massey and Divine, of course. I mean, I can't imagine what this movie would be without Divine. But
it couldn't be.
Yeah, it's a star-making role, as they say.
These are obviously jealous people, jealous of our careers, of all of our press. Why else would they sign that the filthiest people alive? Everyone knows that title has become my trademark. Why to use it in this way is only to insinuate that they are filthier than I. How could anyone seriously believe that? How could anyone be filthier than Divine?
You know, until unfortunately Divine passed, you know, we found out that when you get Desperate Living if you don't have Divine in the movie, and that's no fun.
See, I like Desperate Living,
but it's no fun.
Hey, moron! You got your clothes on backwards. Oh, God, this is fun. Hi, stupid. Hi, ugly.
Divine. Glenn Milstead is the only one that I would say. Glenn Milstead is Divine. The only one that I would say is like a really solid actor outside of John Waters movies.
Yeah.
But even in John Waters movies like Polyester, like that is a wonderful comedic performance.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's a fantastic actor.
And Pink Flamingos, a little rough around the edges here and there, but man, like when Divine is on screen, like that's where your focus goes.
Well, you can't help it because it's, you know, the bright red dress, the hair, the makeup, the eyeline that goes up to here.
As John Waters has said, the human head did not have enough space to contain Divine's makeup, so they had to shave the hairline back.
It's fantastic. I mean, and it's such a unique, like Divine really in Pink Flamingos is kind of like the talisman of John Waters movies. It's just like, look at that. What do you think of that? That's John Waters.
Yeah.
And you kind of got that performance in the middle of it, and it's perfect. It's great.
Yeah, John Waters, he was able to find the right people at the right time that all just, I mean, like the fact that as a young man he would befriend this elderly bartender, Edith Massey, and turn her into a star.
Yeah.
Like it's so absurd.
Just incredible.
But she's my second favorite performance in the movie.
Oh, hi, pretty little face. Pretty little face you got there.
Hello, I'm Cookie. I understand you're Edie, Cracker's grandmother.
Edie, Smeedy, Edie.
Well, she's in love with the Eggman, who is like the milkman. In this universe, there's an Eggman that comes to your house with a suitcase full of eggs.
Sure.
Miss Edie, as long as there's chicken laying and truck driving and my feet walking, you be sure that I will bring you the finest of the fine, the largest of the large and the whitest of the white. In other words, that thin shell ovum of the domestic fowl will never be safe as long as there are chicken laying and I'm alive, because I am your Eggman and there ain't a better one in town.
Oh, Mr. Eggman.
And there's a part when Edith is in her playpen by herself, no one else is in the trailer, and the Eggman's there, and she is so concerned that the Eggman is going to leave without giving her eggs.
Eggman! Eggman! Anybody home?
Cotton! Cotton! I'm in here! I hear the Eggman! In here! In here, Mr. Eggman! Eggs! Eggs! Oh, help! God! God!
And you believe it.
Yeah.
You believe she is genuinely concerned that she's going to miss the Eggman.
Absolutely. I mean, she's playing it straight because she doesn't know any other way to play it.
Oh, the Eggman! The Eggman!
Oh, Edie, how's my little princess today?
Oh, Mr. Eggman! Oh!
And yeah, I past that. Yeah, Mink Stoll and David Lochary, both of whom are fantastic as the Marbles. But particularly Mink Stoll is just such. I love her in everything.
Yeah.
Like she's always fantastic, but she's just such an asshole. It's incredible. Like
every line is just like dripping with condescension.
Yeah.
You can eat shit for all I care, Miss Sandstone, or eat anything that you like, or do anything that you like. Just don't assume that I want to know your troubles. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I'm a busy woman with a full day's work ahead of me. Please remove yourself from my office.
You're a real cunt, do you know that? A real fucking cunt!
I feel like she's really kind of the thing that like pulls the whole plot because Raymond, he's absolutely happy to go along and very excited to be part of the filthiest couple, but he's got a lot of other shit going on.
Yeah, he has his own sort of side thing that I don't even think he's doing in relation to trying to be the filthiest person alive.
No, that's just what he does.
He
for fun.
just likes to expose himself so women will run away and he can steal their purses.
Yeah, and it's the most hilarious male nudity I think high in the movie because. It's got a fucking kielbasa tied to it. Like literally just like tied and just, what the fuck is...
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous and leads to another one of my favorite scenes. And then she lifts up her dress and there's a dick. And he gets horrified and runs off.
That shows why he's not really the filthiest person alive. The great thing about that scene though is I think John Waters talks about it in the commentary is that that was just a friend of his that was like pre-op, and this is just a brief period of time in this person's life, before completely transitioning.
Yeah, I think they shot that, I want to say it was like a week or two before.
Yeah, so just this little window of time, and now it's captured on film forever, and there's something sort of magical about that.
Actually, there's a good amount of this in this movie, particularly like the birthday party scene.
They have a birthday party for Divine.
Yeah, that's verite. Like there's the point where like if you're listening to the commentary, it'll point out like, oh yeah, there's where the poppers kicked in. It's like, yeah. The singing asshole.
Well, let's not brush over that.
No, let's not.
The movie has a whistling asshole. Well, going into the moments like that, like the filthy stuff in the movie, I mean, the movie is notorious for being the film that ends with a 300-pound drag queen eating actual dog shit.
Yes. For no reason, basically.
There's the voiceover narration by John Waters where it just feels like a carnival barker where he's just like,
what you are about to see is the real thing.
But that moment in particular, because there are still some things, for a movie that was made in 1972, there are some things that are still shocking to this day.
Absolutely.
The movie still retains that power.
Yeah.
That moment, not so much, because I was thinking about this when I was in a big movie theater, a mainstream movie theater, seeing Jackass 2, and seeing the Jackass boys drinking horse semen and vomiting in front of each other. And here I am, surrounded by just normal people. And I was just thinking how far we've come from Pink Flamingos.
Yeah, it's weird because I know that's the most infamous thing, but at the same time, there's so much that has gone before in the movie.
Well, that's what I wanted to go into, is how there is stuff that is more genuinely shocking than that.
Yeah, it's still.
But it does, I mean, that shows the dedication of Divine.
Absolutely.
Divine eats that dog shit, and like, you can see trying to smile, but gagging, but still trying.
And I do love how long that shot lasts.
Yeah.
That's just, you're watching every emotion go across his face. most of which are don't throw up.
Yeah, well, that goes into the cinema verite quality.
Yeah.
But again,
but yeah, so let's talk about some of the. We'll work up to some of the more shocking things that actually happen in the movie. At one point, Divine and Crackers have gone over to the Marbles' house and are licking everything.
This is my favorite thing in the movie. Well, not what I think you're going to get to, but them licking everything, because it shows that their filthiness has like magical powers.
Yes.
They lick everything to infect the Marbles' house with their filthiness.
Which eventually...
To the point where the Marbles come home and their furniture starts to reject them. The cushion seats are like pushing them off.
I am yours, Raymond. All yours, my beautiful darling.
Connie, are you all right?
What happened, Raymond? What happened?
The couch, it rejected you.
Something's wrong, Raymond. Something's terribly wrong.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing in the movie, just because that, like, the rest of the movie is sort of, I don't want to say grounded, but it just feels like you're seeing, like, real weird, gross things. But that enters, like, a fantasy aspect that the rest of the movie doesn't have.
Yeah, that the furniture is just straight up rejecting them.
Well, it's just out of order. You're all right, Connie. Get up.
I'm afraid to, honey. How can a couch be out of order?
But yeah, that eventually works around into them getting so worked up that there's a little incest blowjob action going on there.
In the saddest blowjob that's
really
ever been
is.
caught on camera.
It's just like, oh.
Oh, they're my balls, Mama.
It doesn't linger on it too much, but even that, like when you talk about kind of going into the movie and understanding the context of it, which is like, this was shortly after porn had kind of become mainstream.
Right.
With things like Deep Throat, which is like a box office hit, which is insane to think about. And it makes me, so like this was sort of a response and a parody of that, but going more extreme, like, oh, blowjobs, you can show those in movies now. Like,
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do this.
It was because that was the year of porno chic. That was the year that hardcore pornography finally became legal. Exploitation was over. Once that happened, it was like when Andy Warhol painted the soup can and the abstract expressionists were overnight gone.
And it makes me think of, there's a line in Cecil B. Demented where Cecil says,
Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies. Except this.
and that's like, that's what that moment in Pink Flamingos feels like.
Yeah.
It's like, we're gonna have a blowjob, but it's gonna be an incest blowjob. And it's gonna be incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, Cracker, prepare to receive an undivided gift, a mother can give.
It's not one of my favorite parts of the movie, but when you kind of know a little bit about why it's in there, it adds something to it.
Yeah, but it's definitely something that's still in the movie that on its own, without that context, would remains like why we consider more shocking than eating shit.
Yeah.
You know. And there's another scene with Crackers getting busy.
Hold these goddamn chickens!
Oh, chickens! God!
Yeah, this is the scene I have trouble watching.
It's probably, probably me
It's
too.
the most uncomfortable for me, and I think it's almost exclusively because of Cookie Mueller.
Chickens! Holy chickens! Fucking chickens!
Cookie Mueller plays a woman that is hired by the Marbles, and they have a romantic date where they go out to a shack and awkwardly thrust into each other, and chickens are involved.
Yeah.
When I do watch the movie, which isn't very often, you have to be in a mood to watch Pink Flamingos.
Yeah.
But that's a scene where I kind of just like, my eyes wander away from the screen a little bit. But I still, it always makes me laugh the way the Crackers says, "Hold these goddamn chickens."
Hold these goddamn chickens!
But she's so, I'm assuming that's just Cookie Mueller being genuinely scared that these chickens are going to claw her eyes out.
I would think so.
She's squirming and she's so uncomfortable.
And there's some blood.
And then they cut the chicken's head off, which also is like, ugh.
Well, I eat chicken, and I know the chicken didn't land on my plate from a heart attack. I think we made the chicken's life better. Got to be in a movie, got fucked, and then right after filming the next take, the cast ate the chicken.
It really just sort of escalates back and forth. Although I really think that Divine's family's attacks on the Marbles are really fairly benign until the end, where it's just like, licking their
the
furniture and stuff like that. Whereas, while the Marbles are burning down the trailer.
Fire! Fire! Burn it down! Fire! Fire! To the ground!
Where Mink Stoll almost actually sets herself on fire.
Yeah.
You see her with that giant flame. She pulls it back, and you can see, like, she pulls that coat away, because that thing's about to go up.
Yeah, apparently, at one point, John Waters had asked her if she would set her hair on fire for the movie.
But they didn't end up doing it.
No, which was good because it would have gone very badly.
Yeah. But then, I think I said this off camera, but I was talking about how John Waters, almost every joke in his movies has a story behind it.
Yeah.
And now you cut to, whatever it is, 20, 30 years later, Cecil B. Demented.
Would you set your hair on fire for our movie?
The climax of the movie is Cecil asking Melanie Griffith if she'll set her hair on fire, and she does.
Yep.
In an incredibly bad special effects shot.
Oh, well.
What can you do?
Actually, I do want to stop and point out that one of the things that the Marbles do is figure out where the trailer is, because don't they send a package to trailer?
What do you mean, special delivery package? There's no address here.
Says right here, Babs Johnson, a trailer, Phoenix, Maryland.
So they send Divine a birthday present, which is a turd
yes.
In a box.
Oh my God almighty, someone has sent me a bowel movement.
A turd, Mama, a turd.
Ah, a turd. Oh, a turd. Oh, Babs.
Oh, the indignity.
This is a direct attack on my divinity. A direct attack on the peace and harmony of our last few weeks here. An outrageous attempt to humiliate and disgrace my private life. Someone will pay for this. Someone will pay with their life for this grossly offensive act.
But so since they know where the trailer is, they send the cops out to bust up this party. Except the party goers just kill and eat the cops. Which, that's something that you wouldn't get away with now, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cartoonish as it is, but still, just like, yeah, cops showed up. We ate them.
The premise is absurd, but the actual, the way it's shot and stuff, it feels like Night of the Living Dead. It's really kind of grotesque.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's all just meat they got from a butcher shop or something, and they're just, chowing down.
I would assume that same butcher shop from the first sequence where Divine
shoplifts her steak. Well, another thing that's not kind of viscerally shocking or grotesque on just a pure visual level is the entire subplot with the Marbles keeping hitchhikers locked up in their basement.
God, yeah.
In Mr. Plinkett's basement.
Yeah.
It's so ugly and gross what's happening, and then Channing the butler realizes that, because he's the one that impregnates them, but he's figured out a new way to impregnate them where he doesn't have to touch them.
Which he'd really rather not.
Because he really would rather not.
No.
He's so revolted by everything, but he's their loyal butler, so he's got to do it. But yeah, just that whole sequence where he's masturbating. One of them is passed out. One of the women is passed out, and he's masturbating, and then the other one that's very much awake is just screaming at him in one of those endless John Waters monologues.
Constant.
Already? You got one already? Why is she asleep or is she dead? Did you just kill her? Where did they get her? Where did they get this one?
But we do get some but that whole concept of impregnating the women in the basement is really upsetting.
It's gross.
It's very gross.
And it's all just just the way that, when we are first introduced to that basement, there's just a corpse because one of them died and the other one's just, why did you get this fucking body out of here? It's just rah, 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 rah. It's just it's overwhelming to the senses in a different way than some of the other stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's real nice. Poor fucking Alice dies giving birth. You can't even bother to move the body. And now the bitch has sold the kid. Poor baby. And you little suckling, can't even get me my tranquilizers. You shithead, where are my pills?
There's no other way out, essentially, at this point in the movie, so Divine alerts the media, goes over to the Marbles house, frees the teenaged pregnant girls, who castrate Channing.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorite lines when Connie finds him.
He's been castrated! His penis is gone!
And finally takes them back out to the woods, alerts the media, and lets them know that there will be a trial.
Yes. Many John Waters movies end with a trial. The courtroom scene has. I think I've used this clip in probably 4 or 5 different videos of ours at this point.
Okay.
Whenever I have the opportunity to use it, I like to, which is when the media is asking Divine what her politics are.
So good.
Could you give us some of your political beliefs?
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder. Advocate cannibalism. Eat shit. Filth are my politics. Filth is my life. Take whatever you like.
Yes.
Kill everyone now! Like, she just goes on this little rant.
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things.
It's just a good little button to use. It's like my favorite thing from Desperate Living. It's just Mink Stole at the beginning yelling out the window.
Oh, that's
I hate the Supreme Court!
I know you were trying to kill me! What's the matter with the courts? Do they allow this lawlessness and malicious destruction of property to run rampant? I hate the Supreme Court!
I wanted to mention that when we were talking about Mink Stole, because that is, that moment in Desperate Living is a tour de force. The opening 10 minutes of Desperate Living are by far the funniest thing to me in any John Waters movie, because it is just... It's classic John Waters ranting, and it's Mink Stole who's the best at that. And she's just yelling at the neighbors, kids. And
Go home to your mother! Doesn't she ever watch you? Tell her this isn't some communist daycare center! Tell your mother I hate her! Tell your mother I hate you!
But that, well, that's, again, talking about John Waters just having the right eye for actors for his dialogue. I mean, that and Divine's monologue at the end of Pink Flamingos. I think that's John Waters' biggest strength is his writing. It was writing and his eye for casting the right people to say his dialogue.
Right. Well, he's got to come up with what they say first, and then you know, or match it at least.
He's never been a terribly interesting filmmaker on a visual sense. I mean, obviously his early movies are very rough around the edges, and that has kind of a charm to it too.
Yeah. Well, there was no choice
because that's just the way. But even as he goes along, like his more professionally made movies, like you know, he just kind of shoots it to tell the story.
Like I agree with some exceptions. I think Crybaby has a lot of visual flair to it comparatively.
He has his moments where he does something that's almost intentionally corny. Like he loves split screens for phone conversations. I think there's one of those in almost every one of his movies.
Hello?
Is this the cocksucker residence?
God damn you, stop calling here.
And that's something that nobody uses anymore, but he still does. For the most part, his movies are not something you would point to as far as creative visual filmmaking. And it's interesting in the early movies, like Pink Flamingos, which is like where he's running the camera and lots of scenes just play out in one take. It'll start on a wide, and when someone has a monologue, he'll zoom in, and you know when that monologue's about to end because the camera's already zooming out to reframe. There's a lot of that.
I mean, that's you've got to be kind of cognizant of that idea too. Is that like we're looking at a movie made by people that really didn't know how to make movies.
They were learning as they went.
Absolutely,
you see that with every movie.
Yeah,
I mean, Pink Flamingos looks a little bit better than Multiple Maniacs, and Desperate Living looks a little bit better than Pink Flamingos.
By the time you get to Polyester, they got it pretty well down.
Yeah,
you have to get that specific sort of soap opera TV look.
Oh, you see, children, it's not hard to be normal.
But yeah, it's not a movie that I watch on a regular basis. Like you say, you kind of have to be in a mood. But when you watch it, if you've seen or then subsequently go on to watch more John Waters, you see kind of the genesis of everything, and it really is the landmark movie of his. It's really where everything started.
Yeah. Well, there is a clear vision behind it too, which is going back to mentioning like really poorly made best of the worst movies where they just feel like bad generic movies.
Yeah.
Like, there is a vision to Pink Flamingos that shines through the technical limitations.
I'll have to change my appearance. I think I'll dye my hair another color and start dressing like a dyke.
Me too. I'll get a crew cut.
Yeah, if anything's generic about Pink Flamingos, it's meant to be that way. So otherwise, everything is a standout. You know, you don't run into a lot of movies where the actors are, you know, magic marker blue and red hair and down to the pubes.
And even their pubes are dyed. Yeah, I think if you're like squeamish or hesitant about some of the kind of more unsettling parts of the movie, maybe just look away, because I think there is a lot to take away from the movie, even if you're not necessarily into kind of extreme or off-putting stuff.
Sure.
Just as one is sort of a time capsule of that era.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's very 70s. It's very specific in terms of John Waters' vision, but it still feels very 70s, and it was a movie that turned out to be sort of prominent and important for that era.
Particularly as you're watching more of his movies, see how that production style was not just we have $7 and a trailer, go get some Pink Flamingos. But it really does have an aesthetic to it that he continued on through all of his movies and has absolutely influenced, you know, a bunch of other filmmakers.
Yeah, I don't know how readily available the movie is anymore. I'm assuming it's still in print on DVD.
I think so.
I know I have the 2-pack. It's that and Female Trouble.
Oh, nice.
I know all those 2-packs are out of print, but individual movies, I don't know what's still available.
Yeah, I'd have to see. I don't know. I've just had the Criterion Laserdisc.
I don't think I even knew that Pink Flamingos was on Criterion.
Yep, that was the initial home video version of the 25th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Edition was that Laserdisc.
I'm waiting for him to put out Pink Flamingos again.
Yeah.
On Criterion. They got multiple Maniacs.
You know, yeah. Let's
it's
get that.
Time. The time has come.
It's time for the Pink Flamingos Blu-ray, so we can see that asshole. And
no, maybe we don't need a Blu-ray.
Yeah.